Our project focused on the marginalization of left-handed students at Georgiatech. Throughout this project, we learned some of the difficulties that the left-handed students at Georgiatech face and how they have to cope with a campus mainly designed for right-handers. The main focus of our project was based on the classroom and laboratory settings. In order to understand our topic further and gather more opinions and data, we handed out surveys to some left-handed students on campus and asked them to fill it out. They contain questions like what difficulties they faced on campus and in general, did they ever feel isolated, and how the discrimination can be alleviated. Based on the survey answers, we also interviewed a few select students and asked them some more in-depth questions about their responses on the survey in order to gain a deeper perspective on the matter. Observation was also a key factor in gathering information. We went to different classrooms to examine the availability of left-handed desks and instruments in order to get a clearer idea of the difficulties faced by the left-handed students. After doing the same thing with labs, we took pictures of these observations as shown in the slide. These observations took place during class hours and when the classroom was empty in order to justify any assumptions made on the effects of the placement of left-handed desks on the production level of the student. After gathering all of our data from our interviews, surveys, and our observations, we were able to make certain conclusions about the disadvantages of left-handed students on campus. Almost all the surveys echoed the same problem. This problem was the desks. The picture on the slide shows the situation of left-handed desks, which are circled in red, in an average lecture hall. As seen from the picture, there is a very limited number of seats for left-handed students that tend to fill very quickly. If the desks get filled up, it becomes quite tedious to try to test, take notes, or even pay attention during class. In fact, a student says that he goes to any test really early just so that he can get a left-handed seat. If a student is more involved in getting a good seat, he is sure to get diverted from the actual classwork. Most of the left-handed desks in lecture halls, like this one, are situated near the rails in the middle of the stairs, which make it difficult for them to concentrate, as they do not have a good view of the professor. Even the stair rails tend to block their view. The left-handed desks are almost always situated at the edge of a row, resulting in observable isolation and lesser group participation. If there is a group discussion going on, they have to reach out or stand up in order to get involved, which can be really annoying. Another issue that was addressed by one of the students that were interviewed was that left-handed desks should not act as space fillers, but instead should be strategically placed so that they are as comfortable as a right-handed student's desk. The picture on the slide is of a section of the LaCroix Auditorium and Lecture Hall with the left-handed seats circled in red. This shows that students that are left-handed are forced to sit only in one particular section in the class. Also, the left-handed desks open up right at the edge of the walkway, meaning there's a good chance that someone will bump into the desks according to an actual student and observations during a class session within the LaCroix Lecture Hall. The disadvantages for left-hand students do indeed go on. For example, if there's a right-handed bench next to them, they always have a difficulty in writing. Once the left-handed benches are filled up, the other left-handers get really uncomfortable in the right-handed seats. There were even instances of students pointing out specific buildings in Georgia Tech that are particularly atrocious in terms of left-handed seating, such as Skiles and Howey. These quotes, however, only give half the story. Apart from desks, quite a few of the left-hand students talked about the lab equipment and how it was made mainly for right-handers, thus making it difficult for left-handers to work efficiently with. For example, problems can occur when communal equipment is set up for right-handed people, such as in the case of micropipettes and ENGL running tanks. If you are left-handed, it is much harder to place a micropipette designed for someone who is right-handed into a tiny slit within the ENGL that is also suited for those who use their right hand. Of course, over time, as equipment is used repeatedly, people adapt to the machines, whether they're left or right-handed. But for undergraduates who might be in the state-of-an-art lab for the first time, it is definitely a change. Another major problem faced by left-handers was the computer input devices. Input devices for computer can present obstacles to left-handed operation if intended for right-handed use. Some computer setups have the mouse placed on the right side of the keyboard and unable to be repositioned to the left. This is the case in the Student Center Computer Room, the Clough Computer Room, as well as the library. Now that the problems concerning the marginalization of left-handed students has been discussed, what can Georgia Tech do to prevent this? As far as the problems go, the list is quite long. However, there are some things that Georgia Tech can do to help the left-handed students get rid of the previously mentioned problems. One option is that there should be an entire row of left-handed desks in any given lecture hall. This way, left-handed students have more choice in picking where they want to sit in the classroom and have group discussions with classmates that are at arm's length. Another option is the utilization of long benches in classrooms so that both right and left-handers can use them. This way, despite what hand the student writes with, everyone will have the same learning opportunities within the classroom. One of the students that was surveyed even suggested the establishment of a left-handed people crisis center to help the left-handed people who feel isolated and irritated to get acclimatized and adapted to the campus. This might be used only in certain extreme situations, but is an explorable solution nonetheless. Also, there should be left-handed alternatives for lab equipment. For example, for every 10 pieces of right-handed equipment in the lab, there should be at least one for left-handed people. In this way, they would be able to learn and enjoy the experiments more. And as for the computer input devices, since we are in the wireless age already, it would be help if the mouses and keyboard were both wireless so that the left-handed and the right-hand students may use them. These solutions are only a platform for numerous methods Georgiatech can implement to make sure each student is able to academically perform to the best of his or her ability.